Hello, in this video, I wanted to record a message on alignment of your personal being with the things of the highest nature for your own development and for your own self recognition. And so, what I mean by that is um, a lot of times we spend um, our life walking blindly um, in within the space that is on the net does not fulfill or does not serve our highest good. And by highest good, I mean if you took a snapshot of your day, or if you took a snapshot of your level of happiness, you would initially uh, start to draw on all of these things within your life that currently make you unhappy, or currently um, you would desire not to have present. And so through that, um, you would almost walk this path, and you would almost walk this life blindly, not recognizing that the life that you're walking, or the path that you're choosing, is in fact your own manifestation of truth, and then your own interpretation of that truth within each and every day. And so, in this um, in this in this world, as our reality is starting to shift, um, the unhappiness of your existence, right, or all the whatnots are becoming more and more apparent. And so, more than now any ever before, we're having to start pausing and discerning what is it that we want to draw to our life naturally, right? What kind of life do we actually want to live? And now it's becoming more and more obvious of all the things we actually do not want in our life, right? And so we are starting to gain awareness of, like, I like this, but I don't like that, and this makes me happy, but this necessarily doesn't. But then as we awaken into the notions of slight awareness of all the yeses that make us happy and all the nos that do not make us happy, we do not know where to go from that point on in order to start to shift or alter or realign our reality to where we get more yeses and then we get more happiness, but at the same time possibly start to let go and resurface or restructure the nose, right? And so, if I think have mentioned this before, right? A lot of times we get lost. We know that we're not happy, and we know what we're not happy about, but we're not necessarily either ready or want to, or even in the place to be making any major shifts in order to, what in the past we would consider to a reset or reboot of our lives, right? And anytime that happens, anytime you start to draw the awareness of all the yeses and all the nos, and you kind of come up with this list of, like, everything that I want and everything that would make me happy, and then here's everything that I don't want, and I still don't know how to get rid of it, but it's there, right? What you have to realize that in the essence of that separation, in essence of the computation of the yeses and the nos, what you're doing is you're fracturing your being into a duality, right? Where you're even though you're energetically more pulled towards the yeses because they make you happy, and even though you're energetically even more appalled to all the no's to make you happy, within that definition of self, you're actually fractalizing your being and removing yourself from unification. And so the only solution, right? The only solution to um, to having more of the yeses and then possibly letting go of the nos. But letting go is not even the right term. It's more of that transmuting the nos, is to in fact step back from the two polarities, right? From the two lists of things, and then simply recognize in that moment you need to enter into unification of your soul. And so that is the primary hiccup that we run into, is that we know what makes us happy and we know what makes us unhappy, but at the same time there's not really a recipe, a true recipe, of what we could do in order to, to align us with our true north. And so in recognizing that, and recognizing that you are aware of the yeses or nos, you can then go, within that awareness, I can step back and I can just find the center of me. I can find me within the space that would allow me to not dive into the positives and the negatives of my life, but simply to sit in and find peace without the two parameters, right? Without the two definitions of self, or without the two buckets that we have designed, or have come to know very well. And so the answer, right, actually the true path of your happiness, to even take these yeses and take this happiness and actually amplify to the next level, and take all the no's and, possibly what you would consider unhappiness, and actually transmute them into pure joy, would be to separate yourself from the duality of their existence, and actually just center in within yourself and within the space of you. um, and you could do that through breath work. You can do that through meditations. I have a lot of them on the channel, or just sitting in silence, or sitting with within like the tones of sound therapy, which I have those too. And then allow yourself that centering and that cohesion, where your being unifies itself within the parameters of oneness. And I'm not saying oneness in the sense when you take 1 plus 1, it combines into the 2, and therefore that is the oneness. I'm saying taking the 1 plus 1, transmuting the energies thereof, right? Stepping away from the duality of the two, and creating something that is a third, through transmutation or through manifestation. And so we possess that within, we possess that knowledge at the core of us. But the only thing that is keeping us from functioning in that pure state of bliss and the pure state of love, is our separation from that center, separation from the true soul of our being. And in fact, diving into the dualities of all the yeses and nos that, you know, which is, a very human thing to do, would be to start identifying all the yeses or nos in your life. And it almost seems like that is a place to start, right? It almost seems like it's a place to start rethinking or revamping, is going, well, what makes me happy and what makes me unhappy, right? I mean, I think all the self-help books and all the self-help videos literally just talk about it. Well, start with figuring out what makes you happy, right? I'm not saying it's a bad place to start, but it's a place that allows the split, a further split of your being away from the center of yourself, and away from the tranquility that is actually your being, in connection to spirit and in connection to the divinity. And so the message is, or the way to approach this, is to simply step back, and then within that space, within that form of creation, then you can start to recognize yourself and your frequency, your own internal bliss, without feeding that frequency into the yeses and the nos, right? You could step back and kind of have this bird's eye view onto your life, without marking things as good or bad, or happy or unhappy, right? You can just simply be, and then be an observer of what your life is actually bringing to the table. And then through that, I know it's easier said than experienced, but through that, the yeses and the no actually completely transmute themselves into something completely different. And that completely different is individualized for each one of you. And so yeah, I would never be able to say that this yes transmutes into the following, but it would transmute itself in what's in fact that in the highest good of you, and the no's would transmute themselves into the highest good of you. And so your path then will naturally align itself without any actions necessary of pushing through and trying to reclaim more yeses and then somehow fighting against the no's. Things will just start to balance themselves out, without any effort. And I know that's hard to believe because I myself in my three-dimensional space is very much of a doer. And so to say that to make something happen, you should step back and do nothing, is kind of silly. But at the same time, if you give it a chance, right, and if you believe in it, and if you truly apply yourself to the concept of centering in, and just being, that the Buddhist Zen observer of all, um, then within that space the world will start to shift and realign, and then you will start to feel your own essence come online, and then because of that you don't have to do anything, right? Things will just start to happen. Things will just start to align because your vibrational frequency of self is now being aligned with the highest good of you, as opposed to shutting parts off that don't feel right, or like trying to open yourself up to the things that do, right? And both of those actions are just in fact fights within you, and complete ununification of your being, or disembodiment of your essence of truth. And so center in, unify, come together the best way you can, or through the best practices. There are thousands of ways out there to just center in, um, to allow yourself time to step back and then actually think, right? Actually think on the creation that is you, actually think on the life that you possess, the love that is already within, and then naturally, through the course of life, things will start to flow. So I hope this is helpful. um, Happy centering in, and then if you have any questions, let me know.